Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network and NewStreamingNetwork.com, which is home of Going Bold and Going Solo. We are so glad to be able to have you here with us today. Unfortunately, our guest could not make it today, so we're going to revamp a little bit because that's really what we do here on the Going Solo Network. We've learned over the years that we just have to adapt ourselves to what's happening in the world around us. Those of you that don't know me, I am Cece Shatz. I'm fondly called the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I am a divorce, dating, life, and a media coach. And this show is called Going Solo Life Transitions. And that's really, truly what life is about. It's just the transitions of life, right? We have ups and downs and all around, and we're forever changing. And so we just have to kind of go with the flow of things. Or do we? That's what we want to talk about today. We're kicking off at 2026, right? I think it's 2026. And it's a brand new year for us. So there's lots of changes that are going to happen to us in this year. And it can be filled with an exciting time and also a challenging time. And so I was talking to my son who's moving into a new apartment. And he goes, Mom, I'm really excited about the new apartment. I said, Oh, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy. It's a beautiful apartment. I'm really, really pleased for you. And he goes, but then I'm also scared. I have apprehensions about it, moving, changing, being by myself. And I'm thinking to myself, he's experiencing what many, many people experience. They experience, as they're moving and shifting into things, they're experiencing new things in their life. They're experiencing something they've never felt before. And so they're apprehensive about it and they're worried about it. And they're trying to think, how am I going to adjust? How am I going to fit into maybe this new world? For him, it's a new apartment, new school, new everything. And so how am I going to do that, right? So let's talk about, some tips on adjusting to change, because there are some things that we can do. And you can Google it. You can find all kinds of different, ways in which to adapt and which to change. We've got a comment here. Let's see. Okay. Solomon, it's nice to see you. Oh, now Solomon, I'm going to break from our show for a minute just to tell you about Solomon. He is absolutely a wonderful guy. He's from India. He's doing great things over there. He has a wonderful business and he's really helping a lot of young people with that change of life, right? And he's a public speaker. He really rocks it in India. So Solomon, thank you all. Everyone, just go out and Google his name. And if you want more information about him, he's probably on our directory, Going Solo directory, and you can find his information there. But thank you for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. Well, let's get on with this because I want to talk about change. I want to talk about we got to think about the change itself. We got to recognize the change that's happening to us. Is this something around us that, can we change? Very good word, right? And is there something about it that is going to be good for us? So we want to really start thinking about the different changes in our lives. And sometimes we have to think about whether are they positive changes, are they negative changes? And if they're negative changes, we have to think about why are they negative to us? Because sometimes a lot of the things that we fear and a lot of things that we think that are, like, oh gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me, gives us a moment to pause and for us to think about what's happening, why am I, and I'm a firm believer, believing that things that come across in my life are there for a reason. So I often think that those changes that are happening within my own personal environment, and I hope that maybe you'll think the same way, are something to maybe make us sit still for a minute, think about it, recognize what's happening to us, and is it truly maybe a good change. So I think that we have to kind of recognize the type of change that's happening to us. Is it a personal change? Is it something that's happening within our lives that we can maybe control a little bit? We can make a spin on it. We can do something with it. Is it a work change? If it's a work change, why are we, and how can we adapt to that type of thing? So I would say the first thing you would want to do is sit down and write out maybe the positive of what the change is. All change is scary. It just doesn't matter what it is. It can be a good thing that's happening to you and you're still frightened over it. You hate to maybe move forward, change, and try to adapt to it. I have a good friend that really does not like change. He prefers to, drive the same way to work and park in the same spot. And that's okay. But sometimes that parking lot's going to be paved over and you're going to have to park somewhere else. And so we got to figure out, is it so bad? Maybe the new parking spot has a shade tree and it's a great shade tree and you like your idea of the car being covered over the shade. Then you realize, wait, the shade tree has a lot of birds in it and it's doing things on your car that you don't want to happen. So that's the negative, right? So I think we have to think about both the positive and the negative of things when we're thinking about adapting to a change. Then we can decide, do we want to spin this change around? Do we want to change things? I use the word change a lot, but I would say adapt or maybe rethink the way we want to do things. And I don't think change is a frightening thing. I mean, a lot of times we'll think about it and we'll think about the word change and we all get all, upset and worried about it. But the reality is life is evolving around us. And if we don't grab a hold of that and we don't say, I want a piece of that, I want a part of that, we're going to miss out on some really terrific things that can happen in our lives. Here on the Going Solo Network, we are all about change. We're forever changing. We're adapting to a lot of the technology that's happening today. I can tell you, I can attest to technology kind of biting me in the behind because I have gone through 3 computers and I'm hoping I can get through the show without this computer freezing up. But, the reality is you got to move forward in it, right? And I can't let any kind of thing change that happens to me. I can't let it slow me down if I really feel that I have a purpose in life and something that I have to achieve and I have to accomplish. So we're going to just step forward with these computers and we're going to figure out how to get a better one, which I'm hoping another one will be soon on its way and we'll be all going smoothly then. But let's talk about that because our whole network is about people's lives going through change, right? And sometimes it's the most difficult. They're going through some of the most difficult times in their life, and they're scary. It's very scary to do that. And so we want to talk about, number one, we can't sometimes control, those of us that have gone through a relationship loss of some sort, whether it be by death or by divorce. Sometimes we can't control that change that happens to us. And so then we have to think about, how are we going to get through each day, and we have to break it down into small little increments of time, right? And once we do that, we start stepping forward each baby step. Andrea, my good friend Andrea, always said, take baby steps. And we might find ourselves taking, one step back, one step forward, 2 steps back. And that's okay, because sometimes it's that pondering within that step that really creates the mental awareness of where we need to go. I mean, that's a mouthful in itself, isn't it? So sometimes we do have to stop for a minute and ponder what's happening to us. Where do we want to go in life? What do we want to do? And so those of you, I would say, if you're going through a time where you are going through a relationship loss, those of you who are, going through the loss through death, you'll see that you can't make there's nothing you can do about that. So you have to live for today, right? You have to be able to understand and just figure out what you kind of maybe would like your life to be. Oh, we have our guest backstage. Wow, how about that? So I just want to finish this thought before I move forward, because this man we're going to bring forward, he knows all about change, right? And so I wanted to, once we're going through when we're talking about a relationship loss, right? And we're talking about it by death. And as I was saying, there's nothing that we can do about it, that we have to move forward, right? So we have to start doing it in baby steps, and we have to maybe get help along the way. If it is by loss through a divorce, there's elements within that divorce that we have to think about. Where are we at in the divorce? Where are we going? Are we going through the actual steps of the physical divorce itself? And what can we do to be able to have someone assist us be able to move forward with that? Then when we get out of that segment of the actual initial divorce, the legal part of it, then we have to take steps to move forward. So we want to start writing down all the positive things that we want in our life. And even do this as you're walking through, the trenches of the legal part of divorce. Start writing down what you want in the future. What would you like your future to look like? And that will help you ponder and move forward in that steps of change. But we're going to move on because we have our guest here with us. I'm so excited that he was able to pop in. So today we're going to talk about when the holiday ends, making thoughtful divorce decisions. And we're going to have Christopher T. Anderson. He is the CEO, and I want to tell you, the CEO of New Leaf Family and Sunnyside Law. He's an attorney and he's very passionate about transforming the family law experience. And if we're talking about change, ladies and gentlemen, we have got the right guy here with us. So let's just bring him forward. Christopher, I'm so glad to have you here with us today.
My pleasure. It's so good to be here. I was listening to you, and I've realized at some point that you might not know I was there, so I figured out.
I did not, and so thank you for sending me a little private message and on the platform here so that I know. But I know you, you yourself, you have experienced this for quite some time. You've been through the trenches of divorce and helping those. So tell us a little bit about your background, and then you are the founder of the New Life Family and Sunnyside Law. And so tell us a little bit about that and why you founded it, and kind of your background, so the audience can get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, you bet. So it's New Leaf Family, and about myself. I am an attorney. I've been through divorce. My partner has been through divorce, and she's also my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been practicing family law for a long, long time. I first started practicing 22 years ago in family law. But during the pandemic, we made a decision. I had moved on to actually helping other family law firms grow and serve. And Penn, my wife, was managing a wage and hour firm. And during the pandemic, we sat down. We said, family law is not really serving clients very well. And why is that? She'd gone through a divorce that was just horrible. And the lawyers didn't help. And we were seeing a lot of that. And the problem I was having with that is that I'm friends with a lot of family lawyers. I'm colleagues with a lot of family lawyers. They're good people. Mm-hmm. So what's wrong? So we started to ask ourselves, what's wrong? And it's exactly what you're talking about. People weren't approaching divorce as a process. People weren't approaching that process as growth through change. And they were approaching it as conflict. They were approaching it as a fight. They were approaching it as, I think you used the word death a minute ago, like that. Like they were mourning, but they weren't growing. And so we sat down, we said, so how can we make this better? Why is it ended up this way? And I'm a student of lean startup methodology. I'm the student of the Toyota way. And I've learned as in my coaching to, if you don't know, ask why, but ask it at least 5 times. And so we did that. We, did this root cause analysis. Why is it that way? Why is it that way? Why do people behave that way? And we came to two key problems that face the way family law is practiced in the United States. One is the billable hour. Family lawyers charge by the hour. And as good, and like I said, I'm friends with these folks. These are people I like, know, and trust. But the truth is that when you have someone whose livelihood is dependent on a construct in which more conflict and more drama and more fighting equals more money, humans tend to behave in the rational way. But that doesn't help clients. And then the other root cause, and to me, this is actually the more important one, but it's the squishier one. But that one, I think people can really grab onto that. Wow, yeah, more hours, more money. That's a problem for me. The other one, though, is I think more important, and that is that we have to change the way we think about it. And so, whereas with most, the traditional way would be you're going through a divorce or you have a family conflict that you go and talk to a lawyer. The lawyer's going to listen. And then the lawyer's going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to file this. We're going to do this. We're going to, sometimes they say we're going to make them squirm, like they'll do something like that. But they'll immediately start with action. We don't do that. We sit with our clients first, and we will not move from this conversation until we are certain that we are clear on what the desired outcome is for the client. So we'll sit with the client and ask questions like, okay, when we're done, when you feel like we've been successful and it's 2 years later, tell me about your life. And I want to know details. Where do you live? What kind of house is it? If you have children, where are they living? Where are they going to school? Are you working? Where are you working? Where do you take vacations? What's your relationship now like with your ex? What's your relationship like with your ex's parents? What's your ex's relationship like with your parents? What's your ex's relationship like with the kids? Are you in a relationship? And it goes on and on and on. And in making sure that we're clear on what that successful life looks like, what we're really doing is making sure that our client is clear on what that successful outcome looks like and what their life looks like after. Because we can't be clear unless they're clear. And the truth is that nobody's probably asked them these questions.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, sometimes we get lost in the divorce process, right? Yeah. The legalese of all of that. And so, attorneys and I love them. I love them. And there's so many of my good friends are attorneys and they're great, great people. But I think the system is now starting to understand that it's not working the way it used to be. And there is a place for that. The steps of arbitration and all of that, but and litigation. But now more people are wanting, and they're understanding they need to look in the future at their lives because they have families. They need to continue with the family environment. You can't be fighting and arguing, that kind of thing. So they're looking a little bit more into, moving forward. And what is their future going to look like as a whole? So let's talk a little bit about, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm lost my voice here, but about the holidays, because a lot of times people after the holidays say, that's it, I'm done. Yep. I'm moving on, man. I do not want any more of this. So let's talk about that, making a thoughtful divorce decision after the holidays. So if someone is feeling that way, how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is a big time for people. two things are happening. What you're saying, right? I'm not going through another holiday like that. Or they had made a conscious decision a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago. We're going to get through the holidays.
Yeah.
Right. So both those things are now converging and saying, okay, we've gotten through the holidays. But people make the same mistake, exactly what I was just talking with you about, which is, okay, here we go. We're splitting. And they don't think about to what? How does this all look when we're done? And two things can happen. One, that'll freeze you. A lot of people get frozen right there. And before you know it, it's next Christmas. And, another year has gone by that you haven't moved forward. And other people don't get frozen by it, but don't take the time. So what do we do? I think it's a perfect time. If you say, I don't want another year, holidays like that, I can't go through with that again. We made the decision we're going to make it through the holidays. Okay, let's just sit and spend some time saying, okay, what's this look like? And you don't have to have all the answers, right? Like when I say this, some people get really, really uptight because they're like thinking like, wow, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to live. I don't, and because I don't know, now I'm going to get frozen again. No. Just think about where you want to. And to the extent that you've been in a relationship where you haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about what you want lately, give yourself permission to do that. And don't get hung up or stuck on can I. Don't get hung up or stuck on should I.
Right.
Just what do you want? In your ideal world, and this is what I tell people, is you can change anything except one thing. You can't change them. You can't change other people. You can build your whole life the way you want, but you can't change other people. So what does it look like? If he would just be nice. No. Can't change other people. You can only change yourself. But you can change and what you want like that. Like what you want is nobody's business but your own. And oftentimes I say, I know I'm being invasive by asking. But you're asking me to join hands with you and help you get there. So I need to know where there is. Because otherwise, what happens to a lot of people in divorce is the divorce is done. The judge says, you are divorced. And you look around the room and you go like, what now?
Yeah. What now? I've heard of that so many times. Absolutely.
Right? And that's a terrible time to have that realization. That realization should be now. What next? Not what now. What next? And when you ask us those questions like, where are you going to live? Well, you're not sure. Okay, where do you want to live? And, you can think about, okay, well, I want the kids to be near my ex. That's fine. So that will constrain where you want to live, but it's still where you want to live. If you want your kids to be far from your ex, well, that may be harder in some states than others, but that also will, you have to deal with what the consequences of that are. But that's a two-way conversation, right? I don't ever send somebody into a room and go, okay, go in that room and come out in an hour and tell me exactly where you want to live, where you're going to work, where your kids are going to go to school, what your relationship is like with your ex, what's your ex's relationship like with your parent. Like, no, it's a conversation because we have to draw it out. We have to give you room to think. And maybe it's 2 conversations and maybe it's 3 conversations, but I'll be damned if I'm going to start with strategy before I know where you want to go. That's like jumping in the car and jumping on the highway before you ask where you're headed. You jump in a taxi and they're driving for 20 minutes before they say where to. They would never do that, and neither should anybody who's entering into this process. So,
right. So you have like a checklist that you kind of go down through and you do that with them. So that way you kind of are touching on some of these important issues that they may not have thought about in the future, because these are the decisions you're making today that are going to affect in the future. So yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to take a quick break. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to do that because I love where we're going with the conversation, but we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about it. Maybe when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that checklist so people can start thinking about, okay, these are the things I need to start thinking about before I'm, stepping forward into this, minefield of divorce, right? Maybe I need to think about some of these things and start getting it a little bit together. Because I think the more knowledge we have, the more positive it can be for us, the experience can be for us, and our futures will be blessed as we move forward. So I love all that you're saying, Christopher, and I think it's wonderful to have you. We have Christopher T. Anderson. He is here with I'm so pleased with it. He's here with the New Leaf Family and Sunnyside Law. He's very, very passionate about changing really the divorce as we know it, the experience of it. And anyone, if you're listening to him and you want to reach out to him, you can just go to Christopher@newleaf.family. That's Christopher@newleaf.family, or give him a call at 720-770-8413. That's 720-770-8413. All of this information will be in our show notes, so not to worry. It'll be there for you whenever you're ready to maybe have some questions and things like that for him. You can definitely reach out to him, and we'd love for you to do that. You guys, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to newsstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold, and our wonderful radio station, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am your host here, Cece Shatz. We're talking about transitions in life, and I am so pleased to have you with us. We'll be right back, everyone, so hang tight.
The National Widowers Organization is a men's grief network. Our website serves as a virtual toolbox of free resources for men coping with the death of a loved one, whether a spouse, parent, a child, or lifelong friend. Our goal is to bring men together and arm them with as much information as possible to get through a devastating time in their lives. The NWO has a team of bereavement specialists and fellow widowers to help support you. You are not alone. For more info, go to nationalwidowers.org.
Well, welcome back, everyone. You're listening to newsstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold Media. Also, our wonderful radio station, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. Thank you, all of those that listen to the radio in the car and stuff. We do appreciate it. And this show is actually Life Transitions, Going Solo with Life Transitions. And I'm your host, Cece Shatz, fondly called the Doyenne of Relationship Building. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. We're talking about when the holiday ends, making thoughtful divorce decisions with Christopher T. Anderson. He is the CEO of the New Leaf Family and Sunnyside Law. And, he's really great in really understanding and being passionate with his clients and helping to make that experience, that family law experience, something that we don't cringe over and have this horrible say, oh yeah, I remember my divorce. It was, everybody says that. So gosh, it's terrible. But we're talking about really adjusting, right? And understanding that we, as we're going through this, there's certain things that we need to think about, because what's going to make our experience, and as Christopher said before, our experience beneficial to us is start thinking about our future and thinking about it right now, right when we're in the hot seat, right? Think about it and what we really truly want. And he has a checklist that he kind of goes through. So tell us a little bit more about, maybe some things that we might need to know as we're moving, as we're deciding that, do I want to get this divorce after the holidays? Do I want to move forward and, make my life my own? So what do you think?
Yeah. So the conversation that we have, we call it the Polaris process.
Mhm.
And I want to be clear, I want to make sure your audience is clear. The law firm is New Leaf Family. Sunnyside Law is actually the organization that we use to help other law firms learn what we're doing. So it's a little bit, those are the two organizations. But at New Leaf Family, we have something called the Polaris process. And that is this process of understanding what you want your future to be, so that we set that as our guiding star and the client's guiding star. And before we go, the challenge I have with the checklist, I train my team on this. Mm-hmm. And it's like this checklist has got lots and lots of questions, lots of things. But of course, for every individual client, it's different. Right. Because we meet everybody where they are. Mm-hmm. And, if you've got kids, it's a very different checklist than if you don't. Mm-hmm. If you've been in an abusive relationship, it's a very different checklist than if you haven't. Yeah. And what informs it, and I just want to cover this first for your folks, because I'm very wary of checklists in that, people think, oh, if I just fill this out, everything will be fine. And it's like, no, that's not it. So let's first get a grip, because we're talking about when the holidays end. So where are people stuck? Why do we need to have this conversation? Obviously, we've already talked about, because knowing the future is important, having somewhere to go towards is important. Right. But it's also because where we get stuck is two places. There's one that a lot of people are willing to talk about, and there's one that people don't like to talk about. The two places we get stuck is the present, the conflict, the fight, right? And particularly coming out of the holidays, boy, can we be stuck there. I can't believe that she just, and it's one of our busier times in the law firm too, because people are calling us all the time. It's 3:07 and she's supposed to be back with the kids at 3. And just like, oh, no grace. Why? Because they're bad people? No, because they're stuck in the conflict. Because the conflict's what it's about. And part of the checklist is making sure that we want to be out of it. Because by the time people are coming to divorce, oftentimes they've been in the conflict for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's become part of their identity. And if they're not careful, they'll just re-enter it with the next person. Mm-hmm. They will recreate the conflict in their life if they don't proactively assert that that's not what they want. So getting stuck in the present, that's the one people like, it's easy to talk about that one. The harder one, and this also has two branches, is getting stuck in the past. The blame game, which is the easier one. And then I'm going to talk about another one that's harder. But the blame game is all the bad things that he's done to me. The retribution I want. The justice I'm looking for all of the bad that's been done. And wallowing there is another place to get stuck, because the truth is, there are remedies. Sure, there are ways to make up for some of that. If they wasted financial resources, if they were abusive, there are some remedies. But the truth is, none of them make you whole. Right. The only thing that makes you whole is moving on to a future that you want. Mm-hmm. And then the corollary of the blame game is the one that nobody talks about. The shame game. And the shame game is the one that you turn on yourself. And because or you feel that you did bad. You are a cause of this. You're not worthy of a good relationship. Shame is blame that goes. Blame is all about you did something. Shame is about you are something. And shame is, something not good. And so the shame game is what we turn in on ourselves, and we get stuck there, not believing that we really deserve anything better. And then the Polaris process really helps with that too, because we give that permission. Just say, listen, maybe you aren't, maybe you're not worth it. But if you were, what would that look like? And before you know it, when we can describe it, when we can see it, when we can taste it, when we can feel it, when we can close our eyes and really immerse ourselves in it, even for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we start to feel worth it because it starts to feel real. And then it gives us something to work towards.
Yeah, I believe that's a real healing process, because I do feel personally, I feel that you won't heal unless you truly understand the part you played in the demise of your relationship.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you're blaming yourself and that you feel that you're unworthy. It's that you acknowledge that, hey, sometimes it takes two, and this is what I might have done. And so this way you can, make yourself whole and be able to move forward in your life and really heal from some of those things and not bring it back, not bring it into the next relationship, because we don't want that. We absolutely don't want that. So much information here. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to close the show because unfortunately we have another one after this, but I just love where we're going. I love the conversation. Maybe I would love to invite you back again. If
Love
you're
to be back.
interested, we'd love to have you, because you've got a wealth of experience, so much knowledge for us to be able to tap into. And then we didn't even talk about the Sunnyside law part of it. And so I would love
do that another time.
yeah, I'd love to do that also too, because you know what we're all about. We started this show with change, and we're all about that. We're all starting to evolve around our life and evolve around technology and the world we live in. And we have to understand that nothing stays the same, right? And
Indeed.
so we have to revamp. And I think if you are helping attorneys, in the family law industry, yeah, that would be awesome, because it's a lot of weight on their shoulders. I mean, some of them are very good people, and they're looking for ways to make it a better situation for people. So I totally understand that. But New Leaf Family really is there to help the individuals as they're going through, the elements of divorce, going through some of that time, but not just the divorce. From what I'm hearing, it's also, maybe you're understanding what your life is going to look like in the future and how can you travel down that road to get to that. So I think that's wonderful. So any last words you'd like to share with the audience at closing?
No, I think, first of all, thank you for having me on. I wanted to share that with you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And I guess for the folks, the decision is the hardest part. That you are looking for change, and connecting that to growth. How will you grow through that change is the biggest gift you can give to yourself, right? Because change for change's sake isn't worth it. But change where you can grow into the person you want to be and the life you want to have is what it's really all about. And that's what New Leaf Family is dedicated to. So I hope that helps to put a good perspective on the end of the holiday time. And as you said, people can give us a shout if they want to know more.
Absolutely. So you can reach Christopher at newleaf.family. That's Christopher at newleaf.family. And then you can give him a call at 720-770-8413. That's 720-770-8413. Again, all of this information is in the show notes. So if you watch the show, then later on you start thinking, oh gosh, I remember I was listening to Christopher and I want to reach out to him. The information will be there. It's evergreen for you. So you can definitely reach it. And I hope that you do that, because I think that's what it's all about here on the New Streaming Network, is to be able to help people as they go through. So again, that's New Leaf Family, and then Sunnyside Law. And we'll talk about that next time we get you on here. I would love to understand more about that. You guys, you can reach me at the Going Solo Network. You can go to thegoingsolonetwork.com, see all the stuff that I'm doing there for singles, and then also the my email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. Goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. We are listening to the newstreamingnetwork.com, which is all of our media. It's home of our Going Solo, Going Bold media, and then also our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, which has been out there for well over 10 years. And we're just so happy that you guys are listening to us on that. So I want to thank you guys. This show here is really Going Solo Transitions. We're trying to come up with something a little bit different as we make this spin on the new year. And it's all about really change and adjusting and going through all that stuff. So I want to thank you guys for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.